everyone, Jexie here. Welcome back to another video. So today I thought I would discuss a little bit about why sometimes recovering addicts have a really hard time connecting with addiction doctors, and why I think there's sometimes some animosity between the two, and what we can do to kind of bring both sides together. Because whether you do peer-to-peer support or you go to an addiction doctor, both are trying to help you do the same thing, which is recover from addiction. So there seems to be a lot of discussion among addicts in recovery, especially people who are newer in recovery, about why they seem to have trouble with either addiction doctors or addiction counselors or other people in like the addiction field. And we also know there's a reason why peer-to-peer support seems to be a very popular method of helping those with addiction, whether it be 12-step recovery programs or actual like peer-to-peer support provided by an organization. Either way, it's very clear that both, medically trained professionals in the addiction field, whether it be doctors or counselors or social workers, whatever, and also then we go for the peer-to-peer support, which is other addicts in recovery. Is there one that's better than the other, or do they both have their benefits? Well, I think we can argue that both obviously have benefits. Now, I think one of the reasons that there seems to be this animosity sometimes towards addiction doctors or counselors is a lot of times the addicts don't feel like they understand. This is one of the reasons why peer-to-peer support has become a lot more popular. When you're beginning recovery for the first time, or any time when you're new in recovery, you feel very alone. You feel like what you're going through nobody else can understand. And other addicts who have already been in recovery for a while can really empathize with what you're going through. They can share their own experience, and you realize that what you're thinking and feeling and things you may have done aren't really all that different from anybody else who's in recovery. However, professionals have a really big part to play, as there's always new information that comes out about addiction, and counselors have value. Peer-to-peer support is great, but they're not counselors. So one of the things I think is that I know for nursing and for some other criterias, they actually are required to go to 12-step recovery meetings and sit in for so many before they get, their license. I think this is valuable because it's hard to really understand. You can have all the knowledge that you want on something, but it still doesn't give you an idea of what it feels like to be an addict. So what do I mean by this? Well, imagine you've been on a roller coaster and your friend has not, and you're going to describe the feeling that you get on the first drop of a roller coaster. You can describe it all you want. You can say, there's the slow anticipation as you go up the track, and it's coming, and you start getting butterflies in your stomach. And then the first drop, you have this exhilaration, you feel your stomach drop, it's exciting, it's this like release of anxiety as you start the trip, right? You can describe it however you want. But there's no way to understand how that first drop of a roller coaster feels unless you've been on one, right? No description can describe what it's like to be on a roller coaster. Even something like, imagine you've never seen the ocean in real life. You've never swam in the ocean in real life. And somebody's describing to you the ocean, and maybe you even see pictures of the ocean, and you watch videos of the ocean, but no experience can really prep you for what it's like the first time you see the ocean, the first time you step in the salt water and feel the waves and smell the sea, right? So as an addiction doctor or a counselor or anybody else in the field, although they may be extremely educated and have a lot to offer somebody who's in recovery, they don't actually understand what it feels like to be an addict. And I think that this is okay. Sometimes I think the problem that we see comes in when a counselor or a doctor or somebody doesn't want to understand. Look, everybody, just because you have a job at something doesn't mean you love it. Maybe it's something you thought you loved and then you decided not to. It's like when you see teachers who like used to love their jobs and they were so happy about it, and now when you get them, they're just miserable and they're no longer anybody's favorite teacher, right? So I think we see that in any profession. I've seen a lot of judgment by those who are supposed to be helping addicts, right? There was a girl sharing today at a meeting I was at, and she was talking about how she felt very judged. Now, she's a pregnant girl, and she's fairly pregnant. She's only got, 30 days clean. And look, that's a big deal, because I'll tell you right now, whether you're pregnant or not, when you're using, it's very hard to stop. And I think what happens is if you're not in recovery, if you're not an addict, you can't understand why being pregnant is not enough of a reason to stop using. You can't understand how you would potentially do harm to yourself and your unborn child by using drugs while pregnant. Unfortunately, the disease of addiction does not allow you to care about the fact that you're pregnant. You may want to stop for your baby. You may want to do the best thing you can for your baby. But if you're in active addiction, there is almost nothing you can do to stop. It's heartbreaking. And so to judge somebody who's working hard on doing what's right is very disappointing. Look, of course we don't want pregnant women using drugs. Nobody does. They don't want to either. But the fact is, recovery is hard to do. It doesn't just come for everybody. And a lot of times, especially pregnant women, need all the support they can get. Now tell me this. If you were pregnant and using drugs, would you seek help if you felt like you were going to be judged, that you were going to be looked at as being a bad mom, that people were going to talk about you behind your back? Would you do that? Would you go to that help? Probably not. But if you knew that there's a group where other people who have been in your shoes and have gotten better and aren't going to judge you, because in peer-to-peer support, there's no judgment. There's nobody looking down on you or talking about you behind your back, because we've all been there. I can't judge you. I've done crappy things myself. So we don't look down on other people regardless of their circumstances. And yes, we may give somebody tough love, but we're not going to make them feel unwanted. I think as long as those in the addiction field understand that sometimes we feel judged. Now, that's not for everybody. I've seen plenty of addiction doctors and counselors who are amazing at their jobs. They really take the time to try to understand how an addict feels and what it's like to be in active addiction. They're really good at communicating that how you feel is normal. I see an addiction doctor myself, and actually I don't even think he's an actual addiction doctor, but he knows a lot about addiction, and he really always makes me feel very comfortable. I can share how I feel about things. I can share where I'm at. I never feel judged. I feel encouraged. And I think that's really important. So you know what? Maybe the lesson here is this. No matter what kind of help you look to get, look for help that makes you feel comfortable. There are amazing people in the addiction field who have a lot of knowledge, who can really help you in a way that peer-to-peer support can't. Don't turn them down just because you feel like they don't understand. But also, peer-to-peer support is always going to be a great avenue because we can understand what you're feeling. So I think to finish up this video, I think what's important is to recognize that we need both sides, right? We need peer-to-peer support, and we also need professional support. They can work together, and we can all grow as a community. We're looking to do the same things, which is fight active addiction. We can do this together. We can combat addiction from all sides. We can promote recovery to those who need it, regardless of what kind of recovery we're telling people to follow. There's all sorts of recovery programs out there in different ways. Some people take maintenance medication. Some people go to 12-step meetings. Some people go to rehab. Some people go to long-term outpatient programs. There's a whole bunch of different ways, and what works for you is what works for you. It may take a little bit of time to find just the right match of help, but don't give up, because the right help for you is out there. And more and more professionals are trying their best to really, really be able to understand addiction so that they can help the suffering addict. And more peer-to-peer support is becoming even more used in professional situations. So what do you guys think? I'm really interested to know. Do you guys prefer peer-to-peer support help, or do you think professional help is the way to go? Do you use both? What problems do you see with either of these categories? I would love to hear your opinions as always. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It helps me a lot. Subscribe. Share this video. Do you know somebody who is in peer-to-peer support? Do you know somebody that works in the addiction field? Share this with them. Let's hear from them too. I love other people's opinions. I respond to every comment. So thank you guys so much. I'm interested to hear your thoughts, and I hope you guys have a great week. Bye.